What's up, everybody? It's your favorite hood healer. It's your favorite hood high priestess. It's your favorite motivational dominatrix. It's your favorite auntie, captain, goddess, king. LadySpeech in the place to be, and I want to welcome you back to this here channel. You could be anywhere in the world, absolutely, positively, anywhere in the world. And you are somewhere in the world, and you're also taking a little bit of time and a little bit of space and sharing it with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you like what I'm doing, if you like what you see, if you're feeling this, if you're feeling me, make sure you hit that like button, baby. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notifications bell so you can keep up with all of these here shenanigans, all of these here shenanigans. All of these here shenanigans. Keep up. Now, let's get into today's video, shall we? All right, y'all. You know what time it is. You and I both know why you clicked on this video. You clicked on it because we're back with another installment of Herb of the Week with LadySpeech. And today, one of my very favorites came out to play. This is an herb that I have connected with, since been connecting with. This is an herb that even when I was young, I identified it and I felt something. Every single time I encountered it, every single time I ate it, you know, I wanted it. This is one of my very favorite herbs to not only cook with and make that literal physical food with, but this is an herb that I like to spiritually cook with and create that spiritual food, that spiritual nourishment, if you will. This is one of the staples in my collection, and I use it quite often. I love it so much. I love it so deeply. And you already know what it is from the title, but let me introduce you to my very favorite crack of the herb world for me. Something I have been in love with since the moment I tasted it, the moment I smelled it, the moment I made magic with it. Without further ado, rosemary, my loves. Rosemary. Let's take a second. Let's take a minute. Let's take it in. Let's take a second. Let's take a minute. Let's take it in. Let's take a second. Let's take a minute. And let's take it in. Now, before we take a deep dive into one of my very favorite herbs, as you can tell. Before we get into the specifics, into the usage, into the basics of this very beloved and most favorite herb of mine, I do want to say this. Not every herb is for you, okay? Not every herb is for you, all right? So much of, especially when it comes to the tradition that I practice and what I have learned from studying a lot of other people's practices, especially from the ancient ancestral perspective, what I have learned is so much of magic, so much of your practice is about what is available to you. It's about what is immediately accessible to you. Also what you have a connection to, okay? A lot of different herbs can be used for a lot of different things. On this channel, you are going to find that I feature herbs that I have a connection to. And I strongly suggest, as you are deepening your practice with, you know, magic, with spirituality, and if your practice happens to include use and work with herbs, I ask people, or I encourage people, I should say, I invite people to utilize their work with herbs just like you utilize your work with crystals. Not every crystal is for you. Not every tool is for you. Not every herb is for you. Rosemary is, like I said in the beginning, rosemary is an herb that I have always had a connection to. Well before I was familiar with any of the practices that I regularly partake in now, well before I understood how herbs were used in hoodoo, conjure, magic, well before I was aware of any of my own psychic and mystical powers or anything of that nature, rosemary was something that I just had this connection and call to. So because of that, there are definitely things I'm going to mention in ways to utilize, you know, rosemary that I automatically just knew. And I knew because I developed a relationship with this herb. So much of practicing magic or deepening your spiritual practice is about relationships, forming deep and lasting and connective relationships with your tools, with your herbs, with the things that you work with. The essence of so much of our ancestors' practice was having a very personal connection, not only with their ancestors and their spiritual team and their God or their creator and their deities, but also to the very tools that they used in order to worship or petition, you know, their gods, their deities, you know, having a connection to the tools, having a connection to the herbs themselves, the animals, every single aspect of everything that was a part of their practice. They had a deep and personal relationship with, and everything became sacred. So I come from that mindset. I come from that mindset of this isn't just about going out and having an herb cabinet that is extensive and just to say you have it. This is about building your practice and building it on solid relationships and solid footing. Be it a solid relationship with your ancestors and your spiritual team, a solid relationship with the actual tools that you use to make your elixirs and your potions, you know, to write your spells, the things that you use to the elements and the things that you use to build your altars. This is not about collecting things because it's cool. It's not about having an extensive herb cabinet because it is aesthetically pleasing. No. So much of witchcraft, so much of the craft, so much of magic, so much of conjure is about using what you have and understanding the sacredness in everything around you. And when you understand the sacredness of everything around you, you can begin to develop relationships, and these things will tell you what it can be used for. Because of my relationship with rosemary and my connection, when I began my magic practice, I began to use this herb for things like protection. I used it in love work. It was one of my most used and go-to. It was one of the first herbs I reached for. It was literally, I went to my medicine cabinet when I got the urge to come, when a formulation for something, for a spell was being born in me. I went to the cabinet. This was literally one of the first things I grabbed. I grabbed rosemary and I grabbed salt. When I grabbed it, I didn't even understand its properties. I didn't look it up. I didn't go to the books. I didn't go to the internet. I didn't do anything. I just knew that these two things were gonna help me. And I had a purpose, and part of that purpose was protection. And I just knew these things, cleansing, protection, these two things, salt and rosemary. It took actually a couple of years, and I was getting familiar with, it was interesting too, because I had such a personal relationship with it. I didn't even look it up. I didn't even research it for a couple of years. I was researching and working with other herbs. It really took a couple of years to be like, wait a minute, you should probably look up what rosemary does. You should probably, you've been throwing it in baths, grinding it up and sprinkling it on candles. What are you doing? I literally was a day I was like, did you ever actually, you're just, and I was like, how do you know what you're doing with it? And I literally kind of sat with that, and I was like, because you've been talking to it the whole time. So I strongly encourage, like, you know, the practice, the craft is not about a collection of knowledge to have it just to have it. You know, it is, you know, a big part of magic, a big part of, conjure hoodoo, a big part of witchcraft. You know, you're coming from whatever practices you're coming from. A huge part of these practices is about relationships, developing personal relationships. Even when you're initiated into, or you enter into if you end up walking the red road, if you end up being initiated into an African traditional religion, if you end up, going into an indigenous path that your ancestors sought, you'll find that these are about developing really intimate relationships with your deities, your spirit guides, your people that guide you, the tools that you have, the things that you utilize, to connect with your faith. So I wanted to say that before we begin. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of our friend, Rosemary. Rosemary. The basics. It is often associated with the divine masculine energies. Its element is fire. And with that being said, there could be only one ruling planet for this lovely herb, and that's the sun. What is rosemary good for? Well, do you want to get some good sleep? Rosemary can help with that. Do you want to bring in the essence of youth? This won't make you forever young, so don't put it in your tea expecting to not age 10, 15 years. It don't work like that. What would you like to bring in the essence of youth in your daily life and in your spell work? Rosemary can help you with that. Are you looking for a little bit of protection? Rosemary got you. You want to do a little love and lust work? Rosemary can help you with that. Do you need a little help with the mental? Rosemary can assist you with that. Are you looking for a little bit of purification? Do you need a little help with the healing? Healing and purification. Purification and healing. Healing and purification. Purification and healing. Rosemary can help you with that. It can help you with that. It can help you with that. Well, how do you use it? Number one, burn it. But burn it. Burn it. But burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it. But burn it, burn it. Burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it. You can burn it. I like to grind my herbs up and then into a fine powder or dust, as fine as I can make it, or as small as the pieces as I can get it, and put it on some charcoal and purify, cleanse my space according to whatever the herbs do. Like I said, this is really good for purification and for healing. This has been used as an incense for a very long time in history, so you can burn it, grind it up a bit, throw it on some charcoal, use it to purify the space. This is used oftentimes. Rosemary is really good to cleanse the space before you are going into something. So it's almost kind of like, you know, when a surgeon is going into surgery, they have, you know, suited and booted. They have cleansed themselves, taken a shower and all that stuff, but then they go through a sterilization, especially with their hands and arms right before they go into surgery. This is like that, like a spiritual sterilization before going into ritual, before going into prayer, before going into ceremony, after coming out of something big like that. Rosemary can be used with salt by itself to help purify and to cleanse. So burning it is one of the easiest ways to use this. Cook with it, baby. Cook with it. All you kitchen witches know what's up. All you kitchen witches know what's up. Some of the oldest, simplest, and most cunning forms of magic is food. Kitchen witchery, baby. Where do you think potions come from? Soul food. Soul food takes many forms. There's spiritual soul food, there's spiritual soul food, there's physical soul food. I think I said spiritual soul food twice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's all types of soul food, baby. Rosemary, protection work. I love to utilize, if I'm cooking for other people, if I can somehow throw rosemary into the recipe, into the potatoes, into the meat, into whatever it is that I'm making, cooking, if I can throw it in there, I love doing it because of the protective element of it. And I will oftentimes pray with this, and because it is something that I connect with, I will pray with it. There is some rosemary salt that I was given probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I'm almost done with it, but it's one of my most favorite things. But I love praying with that right before I put it into a dish, okay? So kitchen witchery, kitchen magic, even if you're not doing any magic, even if like you're just in the kitchen and you're gonna make yourself some garlic, rosemary, potatoes, when you touch the rosemary, remember that it's magic and it has these elements in it, so activate it. Take a second before you put it into the dish, sit with it, pray with it, you know, connect with it, pray over it, pray with your herbs after, before, during, when you're not using your herbs, okay? When you do get some herbs, pray with it for a second. Sit with it for a second, activate it, but take it out, put it in there, and you know, activate those powers of protection. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is to activate it, and especially if I'm going to cook with other people, I love to make sure rosemary is in there, and I love to activate the protection aspect of it and the love aspect of it to make sure that they feel loved by me, that they feel comforted by me, that no matter if the food is good or bad, that they feel my good intentions and my love for them, and that, you know, my prayers, that they are protected by all of their elements when they're in my presence and when they're outside of my presence. So cook with it, baby. Cook with it. Put it in your bath water, honey. Put it in your bath water. Bathe with it. Put it in a water mixture. Have it, you know, sitting and blessed and all that stuff, and wash with it. Have it as a hand wash. I love to throw it in mixtures when we're at the end of ritual to help, you know, close the ritual out. You know, just this goes into spiritual baths many a times if I feel like it. Like I said, if there's a lot of things that you can use for a lot of different reasons. So if you wanted to take a protection bath, and you usually use basil, because basil is a good protective, you know, herb. But you don't have any basil, but you have a hold of some rosemary. You can activate the protective aspect in rosemary. So using it as a wash, using it as a hand wash, using it as a bath wash. This is something that you can also use in elements. Interestingly enough, with rosemary, this is something that I like to use. If you connect with it on a different level, and if it tells you to use it in a certain way, I want you to use it. Rosemary is something that I like to use with the living, and I like to use on living objects, on breathing people, on living people. So I like to consume it. I like to use it in baths, in teas, in washes, on the human body. I don't like to actually use it for floor washes. I imagine you can, and actually as I'm, you know, connecting with it, Rosemary was definitely like, you could definitely use me in floor wash, but I don't feel inclined to do that. I like to really get intimate with it, you know. You might use it for a floor wash. You might use it for something else. You might use it, you know, for a wall wash and activate those, you know, protective, purifying elements into it. It might connect with you on that way and tell you to use it that way. But for me, rosemary is something that I don't use, you know, a lot in, you know, if I'm going to, it's close to the body. I love it in or on the body. I love it in or on the body. So using it to wash, using it as a wash before and after rituals, putting it in your bath water as part of, you know, your spiritual bath herb mixture, throwing that in your bath water. Also, I love mixing this with salt, bath salts. If you're gonna make yourself some medicinal, spiritual bath salts, I like to sometimes utilize, grind this down really fine and mix it in. Also, put it in, like break it up just slightly and actually utilize the mixing process to break it down and let that soak into the bath salts. So, bathe with it, darling. Cleanse with it. Activate the cleansing elements of it with water. Wear it, honey. Wear it. So I oftentimes actually like to use rosemary oil, and I will mix it with my hair oil. I'll put a little bit on there. Of course, I'll pray over it, activate it, all that kind of stuff. But I will put it on my hair, and a lot of times when I'm doing that, it is for purification reasons, for healing reasons, or mostly actually for protection reasons. I'm activating the protective aspect of rosemary. Putting it in a sachet and carrying it around, either throwing a few of these herbs into your pockets and carrying them around loose. I like to put them in sachets. These are kind of pointy, and so for me, like putting it in the sachet keeps it together, but it also keeps it a little bit more unified, and it tends not to scratch me if it's going to be close to my skin. I like it as close to my skin as possible. So putting it in a sachet and wearing it, putting it in mojo bags. I use rosemary often in making mojo bags for myself or other people, depending on if I'm making one for lust or love or mental prowess or for protection or healing or purification. You know, rosemary oftentimes asks to be a part of the party, and I will utilize it in mojo bags. So wearing it on your person is a good way to utilize and to absorb the powers of rosemary. You can put it in a poppet, baby. You can put it in a poppet, honey. So putting it in a poppet to utilize its healing mechanisms, putting it in a doll to utilize its healing mechanisms. I know if I'm going to make a healing doll that's for myself, I will throw rosemary in there to enhance the healing herbs, the other healing herbs that are going to go in there, and also to call upon the healing energetic and the youthful energy of you know, rosemary as well. So putting it in poppets, putting it in dolls, putting it in those types of things, it's in tools will help to enhance the healing properties or whatever it is that you're utilizing or calling upon rosemary to help you do. Earlier, we mentioned burning it and using it as an incense in the, you know, effort to purify and to cleanse and to promote healing. The next one I'm going to talk about is burning it, but breathing it in. If you're having trouble honing in on an answer to a question, oftentimes you can utilize the burning of rosemary to help you get the answer that you need, to help you hone in clairvoyantly and psychically. So breathe it in, baby. The next time you're having trouble focusing in on receiving the ancestor not the ancestor, but receiving the answer from the ancestors or from your spiritual team, receiving that communication, really looking to get some clarity around and some focus around a certain answer, burning it may help you to get the answer. Burning it and breathing it in may help you get the answer that you need. Now, I don't want you to burn a whole stalk of rosemary and then you're just having it under your nose, sniffing it like you ain't got no sense. Use common sense. Use common sense. Just like you don't burn incense and just inhale it as you burn. I hope you're not doing that. Now that I said that, I hope you're not doing that. Same concept with the burning of rosemary, with the burning of other, you know, herbs and things. Okay? Okay. And last but not least, planted honey. Any herbs that are good for protection, if you can grow them by your door, if you can grow them in your garden, if you can grow them at your perimeter, they will also serve that purpose as well. So just growing them in your garden to aid forward, to call on the energy of protection is going to help you. One way to utilize the herbs. Sometimes that's how people work with herbs. There are some people who work with herbs by making potions, utilizing them in spell work and candle work and food work and kitchen witchery and all that type of things. And there are some people who all they did was grow them and that's about it. I ain't gonna make no potion. I ain't gonna bathe in them things. But what I will do is grow them around my property. What I will do is work them into, you know, my fashions. What I will do is put them in my pocket sometimes. You know what I'm saying? There's lots of different ways to work with herbs. So connect and find your way. Find your way. Find your ancestral way. And find your personal way of being and working with these herbs. And that's that on Herb of the Week. And that's that on Magic. And that's that on Rosemary. If you made it to the end of this video, gold star for you. I want to say thank you ever so much. I appreciate your love, your attention, and your support. If you like what I'm doing, if you like what you see, if you're feeling this, if you're feeling me, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that notifications bell so you can keep up with all of my shenanigans and happenings. I got a lot of shenanigans and happenings going on over here. Herb of the Week, Adventures in Being a Recovering Ex-Jehovah Witness, Ask LadySpeech. There's a bunch of things going on over here on this here channel. So go ahead and do all of the subscribey, likey, notification sharing things so you can just stay in the know. Now, it's the end of this video. And I want to wish you a happy morning, mid-morning, afternoon, mid-afternoon, evening, late evening, middle of the night, whenever you are watching this. I'm wishing you a good one. I'm wishing you a good day, a good month, a good week, a good year, a good life. And on that note, I bid you adieu. And I'll see you in the next video.